When you call a porcupine in for supper.
Supine?
Supine, yeah.
Supine?
Alex, I wanted to talk to you about the term prone, which is usually used as a tactical term where you end up getting right down on the ground, on your belly.
Stop, drop, and roll.
You stop, drop, and you roll. And there are reasons why you would do this, but what I really wanted to discuss was the cases where you want to do this, and the cases where you definitely did not intend to do this. Because it is kind of utilized as both a tactical advantage in some situations, and also ends up getting used as a disadvantage that you impose upon others.
I would like to go on record saying that I have never seen a reason in a RPG, at least if we're talking about RPGs, still D&D and stuff. I've never encountered a reason you'd want to go prone.
In D&D, I cannot think of a reason. Usually in D&D, prone is that you got knocked down, and you got to get back up again, because nobody ever gonna keep you down. Yeah, we have prone as being really a negative, but there is also a positive that has been utilized, but mostly in wargaming, which is that when you go prone, you actually get more stability, you can make shots easier.
Sure.
Yeah, stuff like that.
I was thinking with guns, yes, but most of the RPGs we play are fantasy a lot of times.
Sure.
Although there are sci-fi and modern RPGs that have guns, obviously, like the Warhammer games. But even those, I don't think you want to go prone, because then you got to get back up. And a lot of times the people you're playing, pretty good control with their firearms. Side note, Seagoat said, why do we only ever mention prone in RPGs but never supine? I don't know that word.
When you call a porcupine in for supper.
Supine?
Supine, yeah.
Supine? Lying on your back. Is that what that's called? I didn't realize prone was specifically on your stomach.
We learn something new every day.
Yeah, I guess the question is, why do we ever mention prone but not the other one? Like, I feel like prone in RPGs probably covers both?
It must, because they usually say that you get knocked prone, but prone would be on your stomach, and supine, as Seagoat mentions, would be on your back, even though it would make more sense that if you're getting knocked back, you would be in a supine position instead of being in a prone position.
Have no idea. First time I've heard this word. I appreciate the English lesson.
The other reason why you might actually want to go prone, though, is to lower your profile if you are being shot at. Because you are in a lower position, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
It gives you less body to shoot at if you're
exactly
doing that.
Exactly. It might make you harder to detect, too, if you're
of course, if you're going stealth and you're on your stomach, then that is also a problem, because you're now very slow, and getting up could potentially make a lot of noise.
Right.
But yeah, the low profile essentially is really good too, because as they teach police officers, at least over here, that if you have to shoot someone, you need to shoot center of mass, because making headshots or trying to shoot someone's hands is harder to hit, and then it's not going, like, trying to disarm someone is not the best thing to do, because there's still a chance they'll be able to shoot you back in this case. So center of mass, because it's the biggest target, and if you're going to be shooting at someone, you're shooting to take them out, not to just injure them, because that's the safest way to do that, essentially. Not that I'm advocating police violence or anything like that.
No, I think that they might have learned the shooting center of mass a little too well. Over here, but that, besides the point, is that your lower profile is going to make you harder to hit, but it is going to make you a lot slower. And when we played like Helldivers 2, they're always like, you got to go prone to avoid getting attacked. So, like, you can dive into a prone position. But I hardly ever used it, because I knew that I would be really, really slow, and then everything's going to come on top of me and just kill me.
Eat you.
Yeah, eat me. The bugs are going to eat me. I understood the mechanics of being able to, lower the sway of your weapon and everything like that. Yeah. In D&D, though, usually if you're prone, it is a bad thing. You are...
Generally.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to use your whole movement just in order to get back up.
Right. I'm kind of wondering if you could... I don't think there's a rule against it. I haven't looked into it. But can you cast spells from prone?
I think, unless there's, like, somatic component? Like, I'm trying to think.
Well, even then, if you're just on your belly, your hands can be out or above you, and you could make hand gestures. So.
Yeah. I guess they just kind of assume that you're going to want to be upright when you do that. I think it might be harder to target an enemy when you are on your back, because they can't see.
Well, that's not prone, anyways. I said on your stomach.
Okay, so I'm on. So
we
I'm
just
prone.
learned that's supine.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not supine. I'm prone, and now that I'm prone, yeah.
Because what if I have a warlock and I drop down to my stomach on a ridge?
Sure.
Where I'm overlooking stuff, but I've also got that one part of my pact magic or whatever it is, the invocations.
Yeah.
Where my Eldritch Blast is also sniper range.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm sitting on my stomach prone, and I just kind of go pew 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 with my Eldritch Blast at a range of 300 feet. As Seagoat says, if you decide to hide behind the ridge to look into the valley, you're now lying prone. This is not a bad position to be in, as you have made yourself small and can't look forward easily. If you get knocked down in combat, have seen any street brawls, you normally get knocked supine, so on your back. And you really can't do much until you roll on your stomach prone to be able to get up. I'd say supine is worse than prone. Yeah, I'd agree. In this case, being knocked on your back is generally not ideal. Being prone would definitely be more ideal, but still not ideal. Especially in the case of close combat in RPGs, because generally knocked prone means that you're getting free shots on you.
Yeah, because this is the other part of this, is that you would be a lot easier to hit. I believe that you get advantage on attacks against an enemy that is prone.
Sometimes you even get automatically hits. Or you could try a coup de grace.
I always like coups and gras.
No, coup de grace.
Oh.
Coup de grace.
Coup de grace. I see. You gotta say it more French next time.
No, fuck the French.
Coup de grace.
Absolutely not. And coup de grace would just be like a killing blow at that point.
Sure. Finish him.
Finish him.
We were playing
Coup de
Mortal
grace.
Kombat rules all of a sudden for this.
Fatality.
You will see occasionally in a campaign where prone comes into play, but it's not used all that often. I think that the places where it does is when knockback effects are really effective. I believe that I had some cases of enemies getting knocked back and probably going prone when I used something like a thunder wave or something like that, shockwave, which makes sense because it is actual force that is knocking you back. But it is very situational. You have to have very specific attacks and have to have the space in order to get knocked prone. You have to fail, saves in order for that to happen. Did I get anybody prone when I threw down the ball bearings? I think I did.
I don't remember.
I don't remember
honestly.
Either.
You blew out the back of the house, though.
I did blow out the back of the house with all of my ball bearings, which was fun. But
yeah.
The benefit of that really was, and one of the reasons why I liked ball bearings as just a thing that I could have around, was that it does force the enemies to think about risk reward, which is that they can go slow and they don't have to worry about tripping, but if they go faster, they have to fail. They have to succeed at a saving throw in order to make sure that they don't fall down and go prone. So it could end up being okay for you, but there's a higher risk now associated with it, and it's just meant to basically slow down your opposition as a tactic.
Of course, if you're playing a game where you do have access to a firearm or a spellcaster that doesn't have to necessarily be on your feet, then prone could definitely be the benefit, because you go, oh, I'm on my belly, oh no, I still can fire my rifle.
It would be kind of nice to know that there are actual benefits to it, but I don't think that there's practically anything, in Dungeons & Dragons at least, that makes it beneficial for you to be prone, even against ranged combatants, because I don't think I've ever seen a rule that said that, if you have if you're an archer, that you do, ranged combat, that you get disadvantage or something on a prone combatant. I've never seen that used.
I think I think being prone, if you wanted to argue, you could argue that you get a partial cover.
I could. Of course, cover is another thing that doesn't get utilized very often in D&D.
Definitely not unless, again, similar to our last topic of flanking, it makes more sense in a tactical game that use the grid and like miniatures, because then you have objects in places generally, or places you can actually put your character and go, I am behind cover.
Right.
And you go, what type of cover? 3/4, half, full. You know, that makes more sense than saying theater of the mind. You go, I'm going to hide behind this barrel. And you kind of go, well, how much of you hiding behind the barrel? You can't really tell. It's all kind of there. It's like, all right, you just got 3/4 cover, or like, I'm half under it because I can only half fit. Were I to play D&D as a tactical miniature game, first of all, I would not. But doing these things would be a lot more beneficial.
Sure. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about today, whether it be tremor sense or flanking or prone, are things that would be used in a more tactical game of D&D, and that's probably the reason why most people have not really seen them or utilized them, because a lot of times, especially with like D&D 5e, it is usually seen as a very rules light system, and so comparatively, and people probably don't engage with a lot of these mechanics anyway, because it's not really supposed to be getting into the weeds. The idea is that like a lot of new players probably picked it up because you didn't have to get too deep into the weeds. But these rules could exist if you wanted them to in a more technical game.
Did I mention when I was on vacation in LA and I went to that convention that they had a Curse of Strahd they were running?
You may have, but please go on. I don't remember.
They were doing a whole thing, Curse of Strahd, I believe it was. I think it was Curse of Strahd because they had the whole town. But they had a whole table set up with all of the entire town that takes place in set up on the table. Like gorgeous, like big miniature buildings kind of deal. Like the whole Castle Strahd and the whole town around it just on the table.
Nice.
Huge. Took up like an 8-foot, table set up there. And it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no fucking way
that
I would want to put this together to play a game of D&D.
No.
I don't come if they come pre-assembled. I don't care if they come pre-built, pre-painted, everything like that, and you just have to place them. Do you know how much effort it would be for me to go and put together a whole fucking castle in town?
Mm-hmm.
Let alone if this is a thing that comes all together as one piece.
Yeah.
And you have to move the whole table. Which I'm sure it wasn't. Maybe it would be a 4-foot table if each one was like a 4-foot section. But it's like, I don't want to do that. And everything was like this tall. Probably about, a foot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, no! I barely want to play D&D as a top-down miniature game as is, because that just takes so much extra time and energy to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to set up the map, I've got to set up... No, I don't want any of the extras. That's extra money, extra time, extra setup. That takes me out of playing it.
Sure.
Even though it's supposed to be more immersive. But this thing was huge, and I'm just like, I love it, it's gorgeous, but no fucking way.
Yeah.
Like, even when I played Warhammer as a strategy tabletop war game, and you're supposed to set up the environments to have debris and different things on the battlefield for cover and objectives and all of that, it's like, I don't go that in depth.
Yeah, that's a little deeper than I really wanted to get to with these mechanics. We're rolling deep now. But we're rolling in the deep. We could have had it all.
We're rolling onto our back. We're getting supine in here.
You had my heart and soul. Like Strahd.
As Sego said, the detailed 3D layouts are great. They are really cool. And I also prefer Theater of the Mind roleplay. It just is more engaged with what you're doing. Even if I'm not great at immersing myself, having to deal with the tabletop version like that would be much more visual than thought to me.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why you could kind of use something like Prone, because you can envision that without having a whole table laid out to figure this out. I think the only thing that would be helpful with that kind of gigantic layout like you're talking about is trying to figure out like lines of sight, or if you were able to get a shot on somebody who was prone by like side streets or something. But again, now we're just playing a tactical war game in a way that I don't... more and more people don't really play that way. Like in your general home game, you don't. If you have the resources and the setup of like a critical role, you might have these set pieces. But you'll notice that even in like a critical role, most of the time they don't have those. It's mostly for specific things that they utilize those. For that very reason, is that like you're going to get too deep into the weeds. It's going to take too long to figure out. And that's one of the reasons why these mechanics that we've talked about today don't get utilized all that often, is because you're getting into more mechanics than most people are really ready to absorb in your typical game of D&D. But when it becomes useful, or can provide for interesting situations, it might be useful to, engage with them in a certain way. And prone is also one of those. From a story perspective, it also just provides an automatic disadvantage for you, where you can practically sit out a combat. Like, I kind of like the idea of like a character that goes prone, and then by the time they're actually able to get back up, suddenly the battle is like long over, and they're like, "What happened?" And like,
I took a nap.
Yeah, I ended up taking a nap.
I want to play a dad character.
Perfect.
And so, like, for me, the moment I lay down in bed, I'm just like, oh, I'm fine. And then, like, 5 minutes later, I'm out cold.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to play, like, a dad character in one of these games. I'm like, all right, so I'm going to go prone so I can take a shot with my Eldritch Blast. Get one blast off. Next round. All right, what are you doing this turn? Oh, my character fell asleep. You're just asleep now. Sorry. What do you mean you fell asleep? I got comfy.
I'm gonna purposely lay prone now, or supine. I'm supine today.
I'm a supine sleeper. Yeah.
I'm a supine sleeper. Yeah, that's what they got to do when you get the mattresses or the mail. Is that they got to ask, are you a supine sleeper, a prone sleeper, or do you sleep like a starfish, an octopod of some kind? I think that there's some story elements that you could add to that, which is the whole idea of, in similar fashion to, like, sometimes you'll see this in the battlefield scenarios where somebody gets knocked backwards, and then by the time they get up, the battles are all over, like I was talking about before. But you could even use that as, like, a time skip, like a Rip Van Winkle kind of scenario, where you get, like, knocked prone, and 100 years pass by, and when you wake up, and that you've got...
It's been 84 years.
And you look around, because you couldn't have very good vantage from that point, and you go, oh, wait, what happened here? Or you go prone, and then a wave comes across, like a gust of wind or a storm or something, that knocks everyone back, or just it eliminates everybody, like it's a friggin' disintegration ray or something. But you didn't get hit by it because you were prone, so that would be like an advantage if you wanted to take it. Those don't really have rules associated with it. Similar to like what we were talking about with flanking, though, it would be good to kind of like introduce that this is a mechanic that you're utilizing before it becomes like a major factor in something that you're doing, where it will be make or break. I think of prone usually used in a more tactical military kind of game for benefit or for loss. It doesn't get used very often for D&D unless you knock people back. But there's no reason that you couldn't, or that you couldn't use it as an actual mechanic that might make sense, or be an advantage to some players if they are sniping, or if they are using a ranged combat ability and are getting a drop on somebody, or are doing a stealth mission or a recon. That recon could actually be a really good use for it, too. Is if you're doing reconnaissance and you're in a prone position, it makes it harder for the enemy to get your location.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like that.
He said, maps and handouts help. It doesn't have to be all in your mind, especially when you're using tactics rules like what we're talking about today. It is easier for everyone to grasp who is where in relation to others rather than the mind's eye. It is absolutely true.
Yes.
sometimes I will use like smaller. I know when we were last playing, I kind of had like the map grid, I think.
Yes.
Maybe, and it's like you're kind of all positioned like this.
We did use the maps from the book, I think, at some point, just so everybody was fully aware of, like, what was happening. Theater of the Mind is great until everybody has a different theater going on.
Yeah, I had printed out maps.
printed
You're
out,
right. I
yeah.
printed out. I found some of the maps from the book, and I got them printed out with the grids on them, so you guys could be like, "All right, we're gonna go here and do that." Because I was like, "This is gonna be helpful." Because
Yeah.
Ray and my son were both new, and I figured that would be a beneficial aid to
Yeah.
that. So we did definitely use those. There were smaller grids, they weren't huge, but they were definitely helpful. Sigo also said, just for your reference, as I am here to teach, lateral position is lying on your side, and semi-prone is lying on your stomach with one leg drawn up towards your chest, so you are part prone, part on your side, kind of like the recovery position from simple first aid training.
Okay. Now
I appreciate that.
we
teaching. Also, simple first aid. I haven't taken that since Boy Scouts.
Oh my god, yeah, my first aid training is way out of date.
Way out of date.
Yeah, my emergency medical and wilderness training is God, I was probably like 14 or 15 when I took that. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's...
Learn how... I don't remember how to triage. I wish I did. Sorry.
Yeah, well, you know. Oh well.
Yeah. I could probably do that from a semi-prone position. Thank you, Asigo, for giving us a primer on different positions that I can be on when I'm lying down. Because I really do want to know exactly what kind of situation I'm in. This is one of those cases of, like, a tactical rule that doesn't necessarily get used in everyday D&D, but could be a very useful one, both to, like, engage with the story, to engage with the narrative that's going forward, and to also provide some extra tactical abilities that you might have, if you so chose. For better or worse. And there's some potential benefits to it, too, if you wanted to think of it in that terms, but not really rules as written. So, however, if you have thought of an interesting way to use prone in a game, please let us know in the comments down below, and if it happened to be in D&D, great, but if it happened to be in a different kind of game, I'd also be interested in knowing if there are differences in how prone works in some other RPGs, because I'm not familiar with every one of them that's out there.
No?
Far. No.
Not every single one of them?
Nope, sorry. I wish I did.
Damn.
Nope.
Get on that.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get on it. That's my new reading list, is every RPG ever
You're
written.
semi-retired. This is your new job.
This is my job. I'm currently semi-retired, so I gotta get on reading every rule book for every RPG.
Every single one.
Yes.
Start in alphabetical order, too.
Oh, okay. Can't wait for the AAA User's Manual.
No.
AAA User's Manual RPG.
Great. Love that. Post it.
We're gonna make it happen, folks.
It's just the AAA term life insurance that they keep offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And it works out great. You just roll for coverage. Anyway, let us know in the comments down below, and please don't tell me that there's actually a AAA users.
I'm gonna write one now.
Oh, great.